Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Donut. Today I'm joined with Modern Healthcare. You guys can say hello.
Howdy.
Hello.
Modern Healthcare is an indie emo post-harcore band based out of Southeast Louisiana, whose songs often start out with slower, more contained arpeggios over driving bass lines that eventually erupt into further outpours of emotion and rock solos. A little over a month and a half ago, they self-released their debut album, In Lieu of Help, on all platforms. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Well, very well, man.
I cut
Nice.
the backyard grass after a month of not mowing.
Mm.
Participated in No Mow May. On the week.
I used this interview as my excuse to not cut the grass today.
Mm.
So thank you.
I had work, so it sucked.
Yeah, it'd be like that. Word. So we usually start out with a bev and a snack check. I have a really big thing of pretzels with me. They tend to be the common, and just some water. I don't know what you guys have.
Ooh,
The jerky.
Mm.
we drink blue around here. It's blue flavor.
It's the flavor and the color.
There's a lot of Rice Krispie treats. I went a little overboard. It's fine. There's gummy bears too.
Generic brand club soda.
Mm.
Frugal.
Delta 8 seltzer, hemp derived THC for the legal people. And not a sponsor, but I mean, if they want to sponsor us, I could go with a free 6-pack of these.
Yeah, I'm open to that.
I also have Boudin.
I'll listen to that.
Mm.
I'm just open to Boudin being a sponsor in general. I don't particularly have any loyalties.
Welcome to Modern Healthcare. We're sponsored by Boudin in general.
Just the idea of sausage in general.
Theory of Boudin.
So I always like to start out by asking bands where their name came from. You guys are, as I mentioned, based out of Louisiana, so I'm assuming that you're referring to the lovely American healthcare system. If assuming so, and even if not, what made you guys decide to name the band that?
That's funny. You actually kind of came across the main point of why we ended up sticking with the name.
Mm-hmm.
The way we came to these names was I was just pitching out names to the band group me every week. I would just call ourselves something different. I think one time we were Androgynous Rex, and then another time we were, I don't know. I went through maybe 10 of these different little band names just trying to get something to stick. But eventually how we came to the decision of going with Modern Healthcare was something a lot more organic. And I think Jared might be able to talk a little bit more about that one.
Oh, when we started this band, a lot of us were fresh out of college. And Jeremy, you were still in school, huh?
Yeah, I was in like my last 2 years.
But all of us in some way, shape, or form needed to go talk to someone. But I know my health insurance was crap. I don't know about everybody else's, but I mean, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So we determined that yelling at people on a stage was a decent alternative. And Sean called it, this is like our own form of modern healthcare. And then it was that ever since.
Mm.
Briefly waiting on modern healthcare.
Mm.
Currently contemporary apothecary.
Yeah, that's our group name is Contemporary Apothecary right now. Kind of the post-modern healthcare era.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I searched for like an hour yesterday for that group message because I was like, oh, I think it was a Facebook group between Jared and Sean and I, because it was before Jeremy had even joined the band. And I was looking for it. I was like, man, I know that there's a thread somewhere and I just couldn't find it. But yeah, I mean, it went down like that. I think Sean said, that's Modern Healthcare for you. And then someone else said like, oh, band name. And then it just happened.
Yeah, all stemming from casual conversations about the lack of good, health in today's society, as far as mental health goes. There's so much emphasis on, getting help and, going to see a therapist. But whenever it all comes down to it, the accessibility of it as something that, God, society needs now, it's not there. It's completely absent unless you want to fork over a lot of money or you have a good health insurance provider.
Music
Just,
equipment is much cheaper.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
With the name of modern healthcare, we had a lot of fun with it. One, there's a popular healthcare magazine for doctors, I guess, called Modern Healthcare. So sometimes we get tagged in that on like Twitter and Facebook. That's really funny. We also made stickers of Blue Cross Blue Shield like styled stickers, which are really great. I think I have a couple around here somewhere still. I love it.
That's cool. I always love the little spoof logos that bands get to do.
It's like, I mean, Blue Cross Blue Shield wants to sponsor us, they can go hell, but
Be your healthcare providers. The health benefits. Oh my
throw
god.
a couple $100 a month my way, please.
So you guys also have a playlist on your Spotify, also called In Lieu of Help. It includes a lot of songs from different bands, including Microwave, Gleamer, Taking Back Sunday, and Foxing, among other bands. Could you talk a little bit more about your inspirations for the album, or even just your favorite artists that you tried to incorporate into it?
Yeah, the ones that you just listed, like Microwave and Gleamer and Taking Back Sunday was a big band for me growing up. I'm 30. I don't know how old you are or anyone listening. I'm 30. Sean's also 30. Wink.
Yeah.
And I grew up listening to Taking Back Sunday and in that kind of era of emo as it was happening. I was probably too young to be listening to it, but they had a profound influence on me that still exists, even though I don't listen to them as often. Same thing with like Thursday. They were also on that playlist at one point. I love Microwave, one of my top favorite bands.
They're so good. They're so good.
And Vomit, best song from them, in my opinion. Maybe Wrong could also be considered their best song, but I love Microwave, and I really tried to incorporate a lot of the things that they did. Also a lot of older, like 90s, like Sunny Day Real Estate, Moss Icon, which I love Moss Icon. I'm the guy who does all the yelling on the album, or a majority of the yelling. I don't know if you can tell that Moss Icon is an influence on me from that. But yeah, we all have different tastes, very distinct different tastes. There's a little bit of a overlap in our Venn diagrams, but they're like almost separate circles. So I'd like
That's what makes it fun, though. You get to throw a lot of stuff in.
Yeah,
I didn't even own an electric guitar before Modern Healthcare. I played an acoustic for a decade before that happened, and I'll give him a shout out. It's Ryan Church's fault that I started looking into pedals and electric guitars, and it's his fault I was interested. So thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan's one of these other guys from the local music scene, a part of a local band called Wonder Kid, and they've definitely helped lay the stage for kind of a good music scene around here, as far as really getting some local stuff out. So we're thankful for them to help have an environment for us to grow. As far as my personal influences, man, I feel like I and probably Jeremy too are kind of a little bit more on the oddballs of the spectrum here, because a lot of my influences come from 70s era progressive rock, which is definitely the influence of where I've been trying to throw those driving bass lines into a lot of this stuff. But I still dance a little bit with it, as far as I'd say the closest I get is the influence I have on, like, I guess, Midwest alternative, or things along that line. The big band I think of is Hum. You might know them from the song Stars they had that got fairly big, but they got a lot of other good stuff too that really helped me actually get back into music. Just being able to riff in a bunch of things and drop D easy enough and have something to relate to. It was quite something. It got me into where we would be as a band here, I think.
Man, that's a hard question because like I feel like out of all four of us, my taste is just like everywhere. It's also because I don't know how y'all were with when it came with music in school, but I went to college for music, so I also had to appreciate a lot of different type of musics. And I think what also helped with bringing that to the band and writing all my drum parts was I was getting into the, I guess, drum set part of my schooling, and everything I was doing in school, I was just going to class and then I would get out and go to rehearsals and apply everything there. So I was more so just kind of listening to everybody to figure out how I was going to write instead of thinking about my background. But I think a majority of it came from listening to rock and roll whenever I was a kid, like 80s hair glam rock and roll. But then like my mom always also listened to like Cher and stuff. So that I think that's why I can kind of, the beat is fat, I can vibe to it, but mostly jazz and funk too. And just trying to be simple as possible so that way I could just really hear them instead. But I think if I could say the closest thing I got to like emo music was like anything that you would associate with like a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, or anything you might have heard in any kid's high school movie between the years 2000 and 2005. So like a lot of Simple Plan.
Very cool. Well, that's sick. So as I mentioned again, the title of the album is also In Lieu of Help. It kind of implies that this record is in place of that help that you felt you needed. And I think all art is made at least with some semblance of personal therapy or expression written into it. But otherwise, do you feel that writing and recording this together kind of gave you that help? Was that the point? Did it kind of just happen?
I would say that was the point. Just trying to find some kind of understanding of what was going on in a way that was more productive than the self-defeating path that I would have taken otherwise personally. And looking back at it, I do think it helped, because I remember some of the tunes that were closer to me personally. The first times we would perform them, I had a hard time not crying like a little bitch every now and then. And now I can get through those songs without that, and I can listen to it detached a little bit to say that's what I was feeling then. And it's not necessarily exactly what I'm feeling right now, but the song was written then. And I kind of have to appreciate where my head was at when I was writing my parts there. And I think it let me step back from it and look at it critically. I'd say it helped.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Like, go ahead, sorry.
The whole band kind of went through some pretty difficult times. I'm not going to speak for everyone, but maybe some of the most difficult times of our lives while we were playing and recording. And I really, I echo Jared's sentiment that it did help. I mean, the concept of the band was starting like 2017-ish, whenever I was going through just the worst depressive episodes that I've had, like drinking every day and everything, and just trying to self-medicate because I couldn't afford to go to an actual therapist. And so like once we actually started playing together, it was like a weekly type of therapy session of like, I'm gonna drop tune my guitar into D, Jared's gonna leave his in E, but I'm gonna just jam on some drop D riffs and maybe yell every now and then, and whatever comes out comes out. And I think it really helped me and probably everyone else.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know if I went into it trying to treat it as a therapy session, but it definitely ended up becoming one, just to be able to get together with friends and make music. And I think that's the thing that makes it all special is, we all kind of had this bond before we ever even came together as a band. I think all of us were, at one point members of the same music fraternity. So we had a lot of connection through there. And how we came together through all that. And then, even more whenever we decided to all just, kind of make some jams together, it definitely helped create its own therapy just from, the fellowship of kindred souls, as it were.
Beautifully put. Cool. So the first single that you guys put out for the record was Delaware Valley, which is a song that focuses on forms of identity and especially the deception of it. Can you talk a little bit more about that and why you chose for that to be the first song? Also, on a side note, I'm from Delaware, which Delaware Valley is not in. Have you guys ever been there? Did that have anything to do with the song?
No, I wrote Delaware Valley's lyric, kind of the skeleton of it.
Okay.
Probably around 2017-ish, like 2 years before the band even actually got its start. Never been to Delaware. I don't know if it's a great place or not, but
it exists.
it's there. Delaware Valley, the name comes from the area because it was kind of an inside joke with the person that it's written about, who's actually my wife now. Obviously, circumstances have gotten better around the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, it was around the time of writing it where I was realizing things about myself that I didn't like, that I was struggling with and trying to change, and like recognizing these patterns that I had fallen into. And I think that Jared eventually took some of the lyrics and kind of flipped them around to give it this like circle. What is it? Ouroboros, circle eating itself, two snakes.
Yeah. I have that on my chest here.
Weird. I guess
Modern healthcare tattoo.
Yeah.
You got the first.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that tattoo is weird. I'm saying that I said it and then aired is weird. But yeah,
this one's from an anime,
kind of
but
is
yeah,
like a toxic trait that you are exhibiting is feeding into someone else's, and it's just this cycle that I was just trying to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one of the other guys can talk about why we picked it as a first single.
I can talk about Delaware.
Yeah.
That works.
I love how you were just talking about Delaware. It's all right. My mind immediately went to that one scene, and I don't remember if it was one of the Wayne's World skits or if it was the first Wayne's World movie where it was the movie. They were having fun in front of a green screen, and they went to all these different places in the green screen. I think one of them was Hawaii, and then they followed it up with Delaware. Oh, look, we're in Delaware. But no, I only went to Delaware briefly, and this was whenever I was stationed over in Maryland, whenever I was part of the service. I went up there for two reasons. One, to take it was some graduate level test for to get my MBA. And two, Delaware is one of the few states in the country that is state tax exempt. So if you want to try to get away with not having to pay the government all your cheese, then that's a good place to shop. But other than that, yeah, it's Delaware. That's about the impression I got from it going to there.
Most people usually just drive through it on the way to somewhere else. Did you want to say any more?
Why we chose it as the single? I mean, we still got to cover that point.
It was upbeat. We thought it would catch someone's attention.
I think it was
That's
also
fair.
like the most general example of what our album was probably going to sound like. You know, if you heard that, then you probably had a good idea of where we were going to go with the rest of it.
It's pretty well-rounded introduction, I suppose. Yeah.
One of those few songs of ours that has a legitimate chorus. Put a big part into it. You know, I don't want to say that it was all us trying to market ourselves, but you know, that's what music is right now.
Yeah.
You know, you have to. There's so many bands, and it's great. I love that, but it's hard to kind of get ears with that many people. So yeah, we just picked one. It was a song that we had previously released like a demo of a couple years ago in 2020, and two, it was just one of our songs with an actual vocal chorus. It's kind of a catchy tune, so
yeah. Sometimes it just be like that, where it's just because it feels like it would work the best. So on kind of that note of the Ouroboros or the cycle and everything, pretty consistently throughout the record, there's that sense of lyrics or just concepts being flipped. It happens. I'm not sure if it's how you pronounce it, but Jean. There's the phrase, "You broke me down just like I knew you could, but the games you play, they feel so good." In Delaware Valley, there's sorry, that was a lyric from Delaware Valley. In Progress Parkway, there's the phrase, "This is progress, is this progress?" And then finally it comes to that kind of head in the letter mechanism, being first addressed from and then to the narrator in OK. Also in that Bandcamp bio, it says, "We all know it's just four dudes playing music too loud and yelling about shit they should probably talk to a therapist about," which I found funny, again, just because a lot of that back and forth feels very much like the therapeutic processing, kind of like we were talking about earlier, just of relationships and events. Could you just talk a little bit more about how that plays to the themes of the record overall, that idea of like flipping back and forth and just like processing?
So there's always that technique that people use when they want to communicate with someone, where they write a letter and then burn it or never send it, just to get things kind of just off your chest. We decided to record it and immortalize it forever and kind of do the exact opposite. But all of the songs were originally written in letter format and then kind of adapted to be able to sing them, but they're not actually all to the same person. Is an interesting bit. There are only a couple that even reference the same relationship between people, but like Devin mentioned earlier, of recognizing these patterns, the patterns subsisted through all of those people, and those are all people that needed to know how they made us feel, or that we needed them to know what was on our minds. But Devin talked a bit about worrying about those repetitive trends, and I know for me that was a huge one, of seeing the things that I hated the most coming up in my own life again, exactly the same way. To say, this is who I'm not going to be. Oh, look, here I am, pot calling the kettle black. And looking back at some of the things that I actually said, some of the things that we wrote, having to hear them back at yourself is almost, it's teaching you what it feels like to be in those shoes, because you're angry at the other person, but what was that other person going through when you wrote that? You know, sometimes it's a bigger reaction than it should have been, and hearing it back, instead of getting to hide behind the letter or hide behind a keyboard, it hits different. So the last song talks about, read it back, but I think you can do that to the whole album. And I did. That wasn't determined until the end. Like they weren't all written with that in mind, but that's the effect that they had on me looking at it critically, and it kind of transpired through the whole thing.
Very cool.
I guess I answered the question.
Yeah, I think so. That kind of goes into another question that I had beforehand. And if this is too spot on, you can kind of broaden it to whatever you'd like. But my question was, is the primary theme of the album really kind of seems to focus on relationships between two people. As you mentioned, it's not all between the same two, but it's regardless like an interchange in which the narrator kind of pretty consistently alludes to the other person having wronged them in some shape or form. There's usually some issue that the song focuses on. But a lot of times that both parties have regardless tried to make it work, despite knowing that sometimes it always doesn't. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Devin, I'll let you take that. I said a lot of my piece in my monologue.
Yeah. There's this kind of perception around a lot of emo music, especially because it kind of really harps on relationship drama, where, you know, it's always like, oh, you hurt me, so this is a song about how you hurt me. And I whenever I was writing the songs that I like had a major part in the lyrics for, I wanted to add a little bit more perspective. I'm not saying that I'm better at writing than a lot of people. I don't want that to come across. There's a lot of really great stuff, but like I wanted to try and use music as a way to grow myself. So being introspective with lyrics, like, oh, why was I acting like this? Like what was the reason for me being angry? What put me in this situation? So, man, what was the question? I think I brought
Yeah, no worries. Just that there are a lot of themes of whoever the two people are involved in each respective song. There's been issues in some shape or form, but both parties have tried to make it work, even though sometimes there's kind of like almost an implication that they know that it won't. So just elaborating on that.
Yeah. Sometimes people just aren't meant to be in a relationship, be friends, family, even. Some of our songs touch on family relationships, and you need to do what's best for you in the most respectful way. And that's, I think Wes Robert, that's one song that I had a major part for the lyrics writing. The perspective there, it was just right after I'd gotten out of a very long relationship that, honestly, looking back, lasted way too long. Like you said, like we were together for like 6 years, and we should have called it quits way earlier. It would have resulted in a lot less drama in our lives and hurt and pain, but we kept going. And I think that, you know, knowing yourself helps to do that instead of trying to lean into something that's comfortable. If you know yourself, you're more likely to be like, this isn't what I want to do. So, you know, Wes Robert really focuses on like, although I'm not comfortable anymore, I want to move past this. So that way I can be better than I currently am or have been.
One thing that I really hope comes across in some of the songs is almost the opposite direction. You almost call it an apology or an acknowledgement of, here's when I was shitty, and I'm still thinking about it. You know, I haven't let go of it, because I imagine you haven't let go of it. And these are the things that haunt me. I'm sorry, I'm a fucking waste of time. You know, it's not always that they did something deserving of what I did. Sometimes it was a reaction of me replaying the same behaviors that we talked about earlier, of I was acting in this way to you because I was acted in that way to me. And I'm sorry, and here I am trying to break that now. You know, I'm done with that part of my life and with that cycle. I don't want it to keep going. So I'm sorry, you know. There aren't a whole lot of I'm sorry emo songs. none of ours come out explicitly saying, you know, I'm sorry, but in them I hope there's that acknowledgement of, you know, they know they were shit too.
Yeah, I think some of the draft album names were like, I don't think we ever explicitly said, oh, we should name the album I'm Sorry, but we got some that were close to it. We got some that were like funny, just because they were ridiculous. But
yeah,
we looking back at what we recorded and what we wrote, yeah, it was an open apology to whoever we have wronged, including ourselves.
Yeah, and I think like another thing is, so none of these lyrics are necessarily like, I wouldn't say they're letters from me personally, because I didn't really have a whole lot of involvement on that. But I also came in very, very late, considering that they were already, how long were y'all playing for before y'all even called me? Like a few months?
I guess you could call us a band, but we didn't have a drummer, so we were just loud and out of time.
Yeah.
So
and also like, so we have a significant age difference too. So like when I was coming into school, they were leaving, and when I was coming into the fraternity that we were all a part of, they were all like my leaders, but they were also leaving at the same time too. But I always looked up to them a lot, and I've always taken note that you should look up to those type of people a lot. And when I saw them going through all this stuff and talking about it, I was really just trying to appreciate that I have an example in front of me to help me deal with my crap, you know, and I apply it, because everyone's gonna have faults. No matter how much you even like somebody, there's still faults. And I love my job, I love my family, I love my friends, but hearing all this stuff has really helped me deal with like my problems with them, or if I see a problem inside themselves, or if I'm even having my own problem, that I now have tools to properly deal with it, and not like tear people down, or like there's no negative outcome. It's just positive, or you know, sometimes it might be stagnant, but it was really just a good example of what not to do and what to do for me. And that's just the benefit of having older brothers.
Yeah, it's one thing we really hope that a lot of people can take away from the material is, you know, even though these lyrics may have stemmed from something that was very personal to, you know, two of our main lyricists for the band, you know, in your own ways, you can take these songs and, you know, use them to reflect upon your own personal relationships that you might have in your life, and be able to, you know, look at them through that lens and potentially, you know, find something about yourself or about somebody else, or just things in life in general that you can use to potentially grow and improve upon.
Okay, so my last question for y'all, again, this is a little bit convoluted, but bear with me. Okay ends the record again with that sort of reflective chorus, but it's also got this really cool sort of droning distorted guitar in the verses that make it feel a little bit lighter and longer, only to end the record with the phrase "fuck okay," which is sort of this defeated yet accepting realization of what's to come. Personally, I've always been against releasing the closer track as a single before the record comes out, just because I kind of feel like it diminishes the conclusion that they usually has, being the last song. But Okay was both the second and the last single that you guys released before the album. Was there any specific reason for that? Was it again just kind of like this works the best in terms of marketing, or? Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we just, to talk about this, we have to go back to 2020. Early quarantine is whenever I wrote the skeleton of Okay, and since it's kind of shifted, like the way that the writing process for us usually worked was I would kind of write an outline of a song, bring it, we would completely deconstruct it, jam on it for like 40 minutes on one section, just trying to figure things out, and then I would go back and try and piece together the parts that we did. Okay, however, we never rehearsed before we recorded. We talked about it. We played a couple bits and pieces of it to try and kind of figure it out. And then the first time that we actually heard what Okay sounded like was the first time we got the mix back from Ben at Earthship Records. He was incredible. And he sent us the mix, and we were like, this is a good song. This is it was immediately like all of our, probably maybe not everyone's favorite song, but it was immediately like a favorite of our songs. So releasing it as a single, we were just proud of it. We're like, this is one that we definitely want people to hear. And placing it at the end of a self-released LP, most people are going to listen to maybe the first 2 tracks and then drop off. So we're just like, let's put it out there. It's catchy. It's a good song overall, and we're really proud of how it turned out. So let's just release it. So we released it, and I still love it. It still gets stuck in my head. I think it's great. All of the weirdness that we kind of brought to it.
There are more guitars than people. Since we never played it live, we can't play it live. Because I mean, throughout a lot of it, like through the second half, I think I'm playing 2 guitars because my acoustic's going, and I have an electric going. If Devin has a couple of parts, we would have to switch guitars really fast.
Yeah.
Random piano at the end.
I like that part too. It's very pretty.
That's similar chords to Cameron Bridge. So it should be nice rapping if you have it on repeat.
Yeah,
is the goal.
That was an idea that we got.
Because we're again with that fucking cycle.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, we didn't think about that, but that's awesome.
It worked out pretty well.
We'll take credit for it. The fuck Okay is a great story.
Pink Floyd's The Wall has that same kind of cycle where the end of the album asks the question, is this where? And then the beginning of the album opens up with We Came In. So it only makes sense if you have the album on loop.
Yeah.
I played Resident Evil 4 with Pink Floyd's The Wall as the soundtrack whenever I was in high school. Single-handedly one of the scariest experiences of my life. Great. Anyway, moving back to not Pink Floyd, talking about it for a while. Jared, I want you to talk about the fuck okay that you do at the end of the album.
Okay. So going into this entire recording process was very nerve-wracking for me. I was not a vocalist. I still don't much consider myself a vocalist, but I ended up one with these guys. So I'll tell you what they sound like. I'm just picking. But going in there, Ben Livingston from Earthship Records, like Devin mentioned, awesome guy. He made it very comfortable to do multiple takes, to understand that they're not all going to be winners, and you don't have to get it on the first try for it to be a productive day, for it to be a productive recording session, and just to be able to listen to those mistakes critically. However, after 5 or 6 tries on the same shebang, it gets very frustrating. And I remember finishing a take on okay, to which Ben says, let's do it one more again. And then fuck okay was just my kind of natural.
Yeah.
But he played it back in my ears over and over again, like in the headphones.
Yeah, he clipped it out and then just put it on repeat and kept broadcasting it through the monitors. It was brilliant.
And it just kind of stuck. Then it might have been Ben's idea to put it at the end. I don't remember. I would, if he said, yeah, that was me, I'd say, yeah, man, you get credit for that.
Yeah.
So I really love it, because like you said, it's that defeated realization of, now I got to listen to this whole thing again from the other way. Dang.
Oh, that's cool.
Also,
I love like
radio. Yeah.
Is that a good thing though?
No.
It was one of those.
No, it's not.
It was one of those like studio goofs that happen that just always makes it a little bit better for the people recording it. Maybe it'll make a good story if people really like the song, but it's a fun little inside joke for us to have that in here, and it narratively adds to the album, which is just incredibly lucky.
Just kind of the theme of the song, it just unintentionally plays in very well to it. It's kind of like an acknowledgement of kind of the despair of navigating through, life in these scenarios, but ultimately the realization of you just got to do it anyway.
That actually named the song. We didn't have a name for it. I really wanted to name it Jared's Song, a Song for Jared. We decided against it.
I think I vetoed that.
Yeah, I really liked it. Is a studio baby right there. The sample in there is our friend Liz Love. That's her real name. Her real name is Love, and her husband is about to be a doctor. So he's not a doctor. He's about to get his doctorate. So he's about to be
Dr. Love.
He's getting her doctorate sometime soon. She's also going to be Dr. Love. Crazy. But
so Mrs. Dr. Love, for all of you watching.
It was meant.
We reached out to her and asked her to record that sample because I don't want to like mislabel her career right now where she's at, because she just graduated with her master's degree in some type of psychology field. So she's studying to be like a therapist and things like that. So we reached out to her and we're like, hey, this would be perfect for you. One, you've got a great voice. She's an incredible singer and she's incredibly nice person. So we reached out to her and just asked her, and she was like, yeah, I'll do it. So she sent over a couple takes, and we sent it to Ben like after we'd already gotten the first mix, because we were talking about this sample idea for a while, and we never really settled on it until we got the first mix. We're like, oh, we need something in this bridge. It feels a little empty. And it just kind of tied the whole song together, the album even.
Then we were listening to Leveled Again over and over again.
Yeah, by Dikembe. What a great album. What a great closer of an album too. Yeah. Very cool. So yeah, that's another inspiration from an earlier question was Dikembe.
Very cool. Yeah, it's always cool when like little sort of organic moments happen like that. Like you kind of said, like it was almost like a studio baby. So those are all the questions that I have for you. This is your time to plug anywhere that people can find you, any social media links, any merch, that kind of stuff. That'll also be down in the description.
Devin, you're the best at social media.
Yeah, I hate social media, y'all. I really do.
Well, you guys are on there, so
You
Yeah,
can
we're
find
on
Modern Healthcare band places.
MHC band. on Twitter and on Instagram, Modern Healthcare, wherever else. If it looks like it's a magazine, it's not us. Feel free to follow them and just talk about the album in their comment. That would be fun. Do a nice little flip, because people will sometimes comment on our stuff and be like, I love your magazine. So just flip it back onto them. I would love that. Just support local artists of any type.
True.
Doesn't have to be music.
Yeah, we don't have merch.
Yeah, talk to someone. Instead of buying merch from us, that money should talk to a licensed therapist. If you need help, reach out to someone.
Can we plug the suicide hotline or something?
I don't remember the number. There's a whole song about it from Logic, which was weird.
Yeah, we don't need to delve into that right
now. I mean, even if you want to just talk on Twitter, you can just talk to me on Twitter. None of these other guys are really on Twitter, and I run our Twitter account, and I'll just say some really weird shit. Last weekend, I watched Mission Impossible and talked about it on Twitter. So if you just need someone to talk to, I'll be your friend online. Maybe not in real life. I still quarantine a number of on my social anxiety. So we're not gonna go. We may never ever meet in real life, but I will be your friend on Twitter.
Right. Cool. Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. As I mentioned, all of their stuff where you guys can find them is going to be in the description below. Listen to the album. It's good. Check them out. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next one.